Big picture, let me start giving you some definitive advice. Overall, gun to your head, all else equal, I do think most players should summon for her. I do believe that. However, I have seen other people out there on Discord and YouTube and so on telling people they have to summon for Mina. That is absolute baloney. That is a farce. With the recent news from the developers in Watcher of Realms that as of now, there is no buff, no rework, no rebalance planned for Lady Mina, I think it's time I give my official advice on whether or not you should summon for her.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
Now, I have made a video where I was encouraging people not to summon last weekend. That was this video over here. You can see it says why I am not summoning for Lady Mina this weekend. 9 seconds into the video, I said this was not global advice. There's a lot of nuance to her banner. However, I thought last weekend you should skip. I skipped. I hope you did too. It was our best shot, I think, at getting the developers to listen to a lot of our issues with her kit. However, it seems they listened, but they don't care. So as of now, you can go watch my video yesterday. I broke it all down, but I said, this is bad news, very sad. She is not getting a buff right now. I had a lot of back and forth with my dev contact. So knowing that as of now, there is no rework in the cards, I feel like it's time for me to give some definitive advice for all different kinds of players on whether or not you should go for her. At the time of filming this, it is November 20th. We do have 10.5 days left on her banner, so you have time, do not worry. But I think we know enough about her now, we know enough about the developers' plans that I can actually address the nuance that I articulated at the start of this video. There are certainly reasons to go for her. There are certainly reasons not to go for her. So when there are some good things and some bad things, what do? Well, you know I like preparing a lot of infographics and documents and whatever. This time around, we have a pros and cons list. So let's get into it. We're gonna go pretty fast. That's why I created all the information you're about to see now in this clear graphic that I'm gonna be adding info to. I've got 6 pros, I've got 6 cons. I think it should give you a really informed perspective on how me and a lot of the community view this unit. I'll touch on a lot of specifics within each point, and then at the end, I think the thing most of you are looking most forward to, I will give some pretty specific advice. I will tell you my specific plans, and I will try to give guidance to different player types. Are you early game, mid game, late game, end game? Did you just start playing? Are you just getting obsessed with the game? Have you been playing for years? What's your spending level? I'm gonna try to get through all of that. Check all those boxes. So without further ado, there's a lot to discuss. Let's get into it and let's kick things off with the pros. So first up, one reason to go for her, she is extremely limited. She is extremely rare. She's not just a limited guaranteed unit. You know, we've seen 10 of those before. She is the 11th, right? This is an exclusive guaranteed unit who's guaranteed with 200 summons. All the way from Captain Reeve to most recently Moradin, we have seen this style banner a lot. It used to be 250, for a while now it's been 200, but for the first time ever with our 11th limited guaranteed unit, Mina, she's not just limited to when her banner's open, she's limited to her event. So according to the developers, she will never be made available outside of the Dracula's Castle event. So just like Van Helsing, Count Dracula, and Vlad Dracula, she is contained to that event, and then within it, she's limited to her guaranteed banner. It is not confirmed at all if they will ever rerun this event. When I spoke to them, they said they had no plans to do that. However, they would not rule it out for the future. That is vague enough. That is muddy enough information that I think we can assume if they ever run her again, it would be a long time in the future. Some of you guys might not even be playing. You can kind of think of this as your singular opportunity to get her. That is why I've listed this as her first pro. Not all of these are in order, but I do think this is the best argument for going for Mina. If you think ever she could be relevant in this game, if you think she looks cool, if you want to fill out that Pokédex entry in your gallery, this might be your only opportunity ever to go get her. All 4 Dracula characters are limited, and then she's just the limited guarantee. We really do not have enough information to know if they'll run her again, if they'll run any of these 4 again. Will they ever bring back the Dracula's Castle event? We really don't know. This is the first collaboration event, the first crossover event, whatever you want to call it, where they're bringing in an outside IP into the game. There's no precedent. So they're not saying either way. They say they have no plans for it, they're not ruling it out for the future, but she's really rare. So of all the 11 limiteds, she is the rarest, because with those we know occasionally they will run those limited selectors. They said those will come back in the future. They have rerun the guaranteed banners for most of the limited units in the game. I think the only ones they have not rerun are Gwendolyn, Kagiri, and Dahlia. So they rerun basically everybody. With Mina though, they can never rerun her outside of the Dracula event. So she's pretty freaking rare. That's the first argument for going for her. Next up, it kind of plays into the first one, very simple. If it is important to you to fill out those entries in your Pokédex in the gallery, you know, if you want to get every unit in the game, personally, that is very important to me, then yeah, you know, there are 250 units in the game right now. You'll always be one short if you don't go for Mina, unless they ever run her again. So simply for the collector's mindset, she is kind of important to go for. Doesn't mean she's good. She's not, but you know, we're trying to catch them all, right? At least some of us. She also looks really cool. I didn't think this was enough for an entire pro, a whole argument, but I figure we can fold that into her value to collectors. She's not just a collectible, she's a very good-looking, visually well-designed collectible. Her kit, poorly designed in my opinion, very half-baked. As you've heard me say a lot, it feels incomplete, but her design does not feel incomplete. She's pretty beautiful. I mean, it's unique, it's cool, it's gothic. I like it a lot. So that is going to be our second argument. Number 3, the question about Mina I've been asked the most of all these things relating to the pros. So we'll spend a little extra time on this. Is she worth getting just for the bond skills? So when I say the bond skills, I mean the partner skills she unlocks for Count Dracula and Vlad Dracula. So both of those units, both of those versions of Dracula are better than Mina. In particular, Count Dracula. Are the bond skills she would unlock simply by getting her worth going for her because they're going to help those 2 vampires, those 2 Draculas, right? Well, let's get into that quickly now. We already are in the Star Piercers. Count Dracula is a Star Piercer and Chaos Order fighter. So as soon as I find him, there we go, I can show you his bond skill. This is instantaneously unlocked when you obtain Mina on your account, right? The second you pull her, you never need to bring her into another battle. Most of you probably never will unless some content or some team metas change. The second you get her, you will permanently have unlocked this skill, Nightfall Symphony. This is a passive skill that is unlocked for Count Dracula when you get Mina, and it gives the following bonus effect. The ultimate range is increased, that is pretty nice, and the Blood Covenant damage multiplier is increased by 40%. So let's start with the simple one, the Blood Covenant multiplier being increased. Blood Covenant is his basic attack. This has no range, this is nothing. He just attacks along with whatever units he's placing Soul Rot upon. Remember though, he does not attack when they attack. If they're attacking something, he also attacks it at his corresponding attack interval, which of course is stinky because he has the highest base attack interval in the game at 10.0 seconds. Let's say you build him pretty fast, you get him down to like 4.8 seconds. Let's call it 5 seconds because that's cleaner. Every 5 seconds he's coming in with this hit. It does hit pretty hard, but 40% increased damage is not as much as you think, but 40% damage is not as potent an increase as you think. It will not raise the bottom line of his damage by much at all. The vast majority of his damage comes from his ultimate. This is when he kind of goes crazy mode and he's so strong. This is okay, but this damage is very infrequent. The average player will have this hitting only once every 5 seconds. So with skill ups, I've gone into my actual roster now. You can see this comes out to 250% increased damage. And if you get that bond skill, it's another 40% damage. It is not 40% more than this, right? It's not like another 100% damage. That would be 40% of 250. It's just another 40%. So it's just less than a 1/6 increase in the basic attack damage. It's not nothing, but it is not relevant to pull for Mina for that. What might be relevant though is this, the first part. The increase in the ultimate range, that's pretty clutch. His ult is very, very good. Count Dracula is extremely good in PvP, particularly in the arena, though I think he has potential in GVG, single target anti-air, everywhere except for AoE. He's very good. I mean, for early accounts, he still might even be okay for AoE. This damage comes out fast, it is good, he hits really hard. I really like him in player versus player content. If we look, this is his range. It is a 3x4 during the ultimate. It's a bit bigger if you run him with a Piercer Lord, and then it gets even bigger still if you get this Nightfall Symphony passive unlocked by obtaining Mina. I think for PvP players, it might be relevant to get Mina to unlock this skill. This is kind of juicy, right? He can reach all the way back in single target, and most importantly, all the way back in anti-air. This adds flexibility to where you deploy him in that arena content, and it can give you the edge over your opponent. I would also expect at higher levels, most of your opponents are going to be higher spenders or more experienced players in the game that have saved up more stuff. They probably have Mina, so they will have that extended range during the ultimate, and if you don't have it, it could hurt you. Up through Plat 3 though, I don't think it really matters, but if you're aiming for higher stuff and you're planning on using Dracula, I actually do think this bond skill is quite good for him. Now for Vlad Dracula, we can spend a lot less time on this. The bond skill, Bonds of Fate, that Mina gives him once you get her, this will be unlocked. This is a passive that does the following. During his ultimate, if you move him, he's also going to pull up to 5 enemies along with him to the destination he's heading towards while he's charging, right? He's a tactician, you can move him around. This is something, I have not found content where this is something you need. To me, it's negligible, but you could see in theory, there could be something in the future where this is relevant. Right now, I don't think it is. I don't think it's nothing, but I don't think it's worth pulling Mina just for that. The second part, if you cast his ultimate without moving him, so he remains in place, he will inflict a stun on targets for 1 second while dealing AoE damage. Now, this sounds way better than it is. Unless they've changed something since I tested it, this is only applying to the initial burst when he casts his ultimate. So if he's in place, he's doing that 360% AoE damage to up to 10 enemy targets within 2 tiles. That is cool, but that stun is a singular stun, a singular 1 second stun. It's not like for the duration of the ultimate for 15 seconds, he keeps stunning people with all of his AoE hits, which is all of his hits. He's always doing that nice AoE damage. It is just a singular burst stun. So specifically for Vlad Dracula, I don't think the bond skill is really anything. Could it be something, especially the first part in the future? Maybe. But right now, I think it can be ignored. So that's going to be the answer to the bond skills. Basically, it's only relevant if you really want to use Count Dracula in PvP content and you want to have that edge. I think that is pretty clutch, that extended range. Outside of that, it's a limited pro, but it is still a good pro. Next up, we have her Immobilize effect. So this sounds cooler on my sheet than it is in reality. As it stands now, the Immobilize effect that she places during her ult is one of the strongest crowd control moves in the game. She is going to have up to 10 targets in range. It's not the best range in the world at all, but 10 targets in range. She'll have them receiving an immobilized state crowd control effect for the duration of this ultimate, and it is 10 seconds with max skill ups. So currently, in my opinion, there's literally no content in this game where this is relevant. There's actually limited content at all where it's even slightly useful. I would say the main places would be like Anti-Air Arena and then Matrix against the Spellbane boss. But keeping up to 10 units immobilized in place for 10 seconds, it is a really strong ability. There's not just a strong place for it in the game right now, but if you're banking on the necessity for an ability like this in the future, it could be worth going for her. So just know it is unique, it is very strong, it's a little bit useless right now, but that doesn't mean it's going to be useless in the future, so I had to give that a shout out. Next up, we have her future potential as a viable unit in what seems to be an emerging Northerner meta. So I touched on this in my video yesterday, but it does seem the developers are pushing a new Northerner meta. They mentioned it in the dev Q&A I did with some of my fellow content creators over the summer during the 2nd anniversary. They have teased a new Northerner Lord. They also have talked about a new Northerner team, the way we have the Summoners team inside of the Cultist faction, the way we have the Poisoner meta team inside the Esoteria Order faction. They've talked about a new team emerging. So maybe there's some kind of shield team that's coming and there's gonna be a new Lord for it, and Mina will synergize really well in that. Really hard to say, but it is possible. That should be on your radar. The kit is unique, even if the kit is amazingly clunky. You'll hear about that in the cons. But if you're looking for unique stuff and trying to keep an eye towards the future, maybe she's a unit you want to pull for. Finally, it is undeniable that she has some relevance in the Matrix 1 boss. Some people might be offended that I'm only saying some relevance, but I truly believe it is only some relevance. So if we go to the new Matrix 1 boss, which by the way is the worst content in Watcher of Realms, in my opinion, she is getting used on some of the higher level teams, most notably on Cobalt's team, the strongest team we have right now. A huge reason he does have the strongest team comes down to the other 19 units he's bringing into this battle, but it's undeniable that Mina is playing a role. He does have a super meta, high awakening, ancient kind of roster here. He does have A3 on Mina, but when all those things are in place, you have the perfect A5 Ardia next to her, so she can draw from Ardia's attack. You have the high awakening Elder as a lord. You've got the Dirtsa. You've got all this working. She is putting up numbers. This is undeniable, right? Now, is this something I think many of you could replicate? Absolutely not. Not even close. That's why I'm saying some relevance. To certain rosters at certain levels, I think she can get play. But that even being said, I find it very hard to believe Cobalt, who is one of probably the 5 strongest players in the entire game, maybe better at this point, I have a hard time believing she is making much of a difference. If we look at Fortifon's, I hope I'm saying that right, Fortifon's team here, it's basically the same story on Spellbane, except instead of Elder and Mina, he's running Valderon and Kigiri, and he's doing what, 3.54k less fragments? And he didn't have to go get an A3 Mina, and he has a very relevant Valderon and an infinitely relevant A5 Kigiri. I don't see this as a needle-moving kind of thing. Yes, if you're at the tippy top, she might get you a couple thousand more fragments, but if we scroll through, you'll see a theme. People are consistently opting for the Leia and Valderon comp. Now, Mina is not irrelevant here. She has a place, but I sincerely question if she has relevance on a real normal account. These accounts are at a level that I'm sorry to say 99% of you will not reach even if you play the game for another year or two. I don't think a lot of you can fathom, if you have not been on accounts like this as I have, how much stronger these accounts are than my account, let alone many of your accounts. Of course, some of you have a stronger account than me, but a lot of you don't. And these accounts are at a whole nother level. And you'll see consistently people are not choosing Mina. We go to number 4 here, we have a Piercer comp. Mina could play in a Piercer comp. They're choosing A0 Van Helsing. You only need 1 copy. Let's continue. Leia Valderon, Leia Valderon, Leia Valderon, Leia Valderon. Here we've got Mina at number 9. Again, she needed A3, and that A3 is important to get that extra multi-target and the other boosts. Then Leia Valderon. We continue on. Here's a Northerner comp without Mina. If you scroll through, she appears far less than you would think. Northerner without Mina. Here's a Northerner with Mina, but again, she needs A1. Scroll. I will say a promising thing in defense of her is until very recently, until today, I had not found any accounts that were using her at A0, but you can see now, Just Icy Panda. I've known him forever. Awesome guy. Shout out to him. He's using A0 Mina here, but again, it's the same kind of damage that this Kigiri Valderon comp's getting. Now, to say she is irrelevant here would be a bald-faced lie. But to say she's especially relevant here, I believe is also misleading people, because she is not going to be so prominently used on more normal accounts. Unfortunately, I can't go further than the top 100, so all these accounts are crazy, but you'll see, everyone in the top 100 has already pulled for her. And how many people are actually using her? There's a Mina. These two didn't have it. There's no Mina, even on an Elder comp. Here's no Mina on an Elder comp. Here's Mina on an Elder comp. Here's a cool off-faction Mina. There's Mina. No Mina. No Mina. She's probably getting used maybe at a 25% clip on these accounts, and it only seems to go down, maybe less than 25. It only seems to go down as the accounts get worse. She needs a juiced-up Ardia to work. She needs a lot of great stuff around her. But she does work. She does have a place. So that's the final pro in favor of Mina. Now, of course, we have the cons. So let's zoom back in and let's break these down. First off, a great place to pick up from the last pro. Let's zoom out a bit more. As it stands right now, she's basically irrelevant in all current content. Now, I know some of you are going to yell at me in the comments because she's relevant on certain comps in Spellbane, 1/2 of Matrix 1, the hardest and worst content in Watcher of Realms. Let me tell you something, and this is just true, and you guys that know this is true about you or your friends or your guildmates or anyone, please let everyone else know in the comments. The vast majority of players do not fight against Matrix. The vast majority. It's like 5% of us that engage with this content. This content is terrible. I don't think people realize how late to very endgame your gear has to be and how meta your heroes have to be to even participate enough to get 8K. Yes, I do think more players could actually get 8K than they realize if they just made 8K the lowest chest, their singular goal. But even then, we're talking maybe 10% of players. So few players do Matrix, and that is the only place she's seeing any real use. The devs marketed her as a Matrix unit. She's proven her worth there at the high levels. They marketed her as a Malric unit. I have not seen any unique solutions that need Mina, none at all. And then they marketed her as an anti-air unit. Now, for anti-air, she has the most limited viability of any unit I've seen marketed for Arena in a long time. Frankly, they want her to be a DPS and a crowd control unit. When it comes to crowd control, we have 2 free-to-play epics that are stronger. Unless you have an A3 Mina, which the vast majority of players will never have, and frankly shouldn't have, you should not be summoning that hard on this banner if you choose to summon for it. We have 2 free-to-play options. We have Mari, who you get 100% for free by logging in on the 3rd day of your account. When it comes to vulnerabilities and when it comes to uptime on crowd control, with her freezes and her slows, she is vastly superior to Mina. Next up, here's an underrated one. Let's go to Summons and then Hero Fusion. We've got Theowin. You can fuse this guy on like your first day playing Watch of Realms. It's so easy. He has a superior range to Mina once you have him fully promoted, which everyone will, and then certainly if you run him with a Piercer Lord, and his crowd control is stronger. His damage actually is pretty dang comparable, because yes, when Mina is ulting, she's going to deal more damage than Theowin, but outside of her ult, in anti-arena, she's dealing no damage at all. So for that role, we have 2 free-to-play epics that are superior to her. So her only real role is kind of as a DPS if you're very limited. But you would have to be quite limited, quite early to mid-game to want to run her for that. And I don't think you go out of your way pulling for units that are barely relevant briefly in one arena mode with no meta later relevance. So maybe something will be discovered after I make this video, but so far, nothing. Nothing at all. Next up, we have the reason she kind of sucks in those modes, her very lame, very restrictive attack range. So she has this attack range right here. It's like that Mari, Eluin, Aeon, Laurel attack range. It is a stupid attack range. I've never liked it. There's really no content where you need to be hitting in front of you and behind you. Certainly very limited amounts when you reach deeper into the game. Just a stupid range. And by having her have this range, even if you run her as a piercer, she only gets 1 more row up here, which effectively just gives her that base Theowin range without the piercer, the one I just showed you, the 3x4 rectangle, and then 3 more tiles behind her that you really won't use. So even with a Piercer Lord, she just gets like normal single target piercer range. It is bad. She is very restricted in a ton of content. She does not hit her basic attacks enough. Very often units are getting killed before they reach her range, or they're not reaching her range fast enough for her to keep putting out hits and effectively cycle her ultimate. Speaking of that ultimate, I hate this range. It's a 2-tile radius and a circle around her. Frankly, this needs to be like a 3-tile radius, or they just need to rework it entirely. There's no content where you need it all around her. There's no content where you want it as limited as 2 tiles in each direction. You also do not have this expanded with a Piercer Lord, so the Piercer Lord's only helping her on the lame basic attack range, not making it much less lame. And then the only way to improve that ult range, and I don't know if they've fixed this yet, is by getting her A1. And at least recently, at A1, we were not seeing that expanded range. I do not know if they fixed it. I'm hoping they have by now. I just haven't been able to test her in a few days, and I don't have her yet. Obviously, I've not pulled for her, so I just think this is a bummer. The other thing is you really need this awakening, just while I'm here. That reduction in the attack interval is so clutch for her ultimate, for her to be viable. There's a reason we kind of only saw just Icy Panda at the higher levels using her without awakenings. And that sucks. You know, pulling for awakenings for a unit to help you with 1/2 of completely broken, terrible content that I'm certain will be nerfed in the next few months. Not Mina, the content. Matrix sucks. I don't like her range at all. Let's continue to the next con. This video is getting a little long in the tooth. She's got a very underwhelming signature mark, debuff, whatever you want to call it. So that is going to be her blood sigil effect. It doesn't really do anything. It only lasts 2.5 seconds, so the duration is not long enough for steady uptime. It has a minor synergy with her very underwhelming exclusive artifact. She can get a little bit more rage, a little bit of the time. The real use of it is this. It is going to increase the damage to units under blood sigil that she deals when she becomes the phantom version of Count Dracula during her ultimate, and that is dealt by the ally on the field with the highest attack. That's like the interaction from this Crimson Oath passive. 30% increased damage is nice. In an actual battle, it's going to look like 22 to 25% more damage for those units, and it's only 2 units, and basically it's only 10 seconds. This is only happening during the ultimate, and her ultimate, even at max skill ups, is only 10 seconds. This was one of the main things I wanted the developers to change. Make this ultimate last 15 seconds at max skill ups. It would go such a long way. But as it stands now, Blood Sigil kind of sucks. It doesn't bring any crowd control. The interaction with the exclusive artifact is weak, and I frankly think the damage boost is slightly negligible. I think they thought it'd be a lot more powerful, and that's why they thought she'd be really good in arena and PvP stuff. Spoiler alert, she's not. Okay, the next con, she has very weak and unreliable crowd control. So this is more broadly, right? Yes, the immobilize is very good during her ultimate, but that's only during her ultimate, which takes way too long to come back around, and it only lasts 10 seconds. Outside of that, unless you have her A3 or higher, she does not put out consistent slows. She has single target hits on her basic. She's not getting the slows out very often. She basically needs those enhanced basic attacks to put them out, and those only come every 5 basics, and even if you have the bond skill with that double hitter, it's not enough for enough units to be slowed, since this isn't prioritizing units that are not currently slowed and currently on Blood Sigil. So, the uptime on her standard crowd control effect, the effects you want to lean on to enable boosts to things like cultist units in cultist comps and variant effects, so on and so on, she keeps very poor uptime. Someone like Mari is much, much better. It's weak uptime generally, broadly throughout the battle. Next up, her base stats stink, man. They really do. She's underwhelming. She does have that 2.0 second attack interval that is typical of units like Mari and Laurel and Aeon, so on and so on. However, outside of that, the rest of these stats are no good. They really are not. So if I crank her up here, that HP is abysmal, that defense is bad, magic resistance is okay, but most important, the attack is not good. 2,324. You can build very, very little attack on her. Even with God tier gear, you're talking like 13k, 14k attack. Yes, she is going to get a ton of attack from this Crimson Oath, but it's actually not enough to move the needle with her poor kit unless you have something like a multi-awakening Ardia with God tier gear and 35k attack. Is that possible? Of course. Does everyone have Ardia? No. Like, yeah, maybe you could use like a Lord Phineas, I don't know, but then you're breaking up meta comps, this, that, and the other. It's just not as good as you think. They should have given her like 3,800 attack or something, or 4,400 attack, because this just blows. Also, while I'm here, she deals magic damage during her basic attacks. She does physical piercing damage during her ultimate. There is no synergy there. You're not using her in magic content. She's stinky. It's not good. It's very dumb. Finally, she sucks to play. I've played her a lot now. I've put many, many hours into testing her. I find her gameplay style so clunky, so unenjoyable. You can see here I just called it clunk. It is some clunk ass gameplay. You're just sitting around waiting for her ult to come, and very often it's very hard to find the right window to trigger her ult, either because units are not reaching her lame attack range fast enough, or units are dying before they even reach her on certain maps. Yes, this is not the case everywhere. In content like Spellbane, there are a lot of units coming. Having a worse range there doesn't matter. In that content, frankly, she's like a glorified Cratch. Yeah, A5 Cratch is pretty good in Spellbane. Mina's a little bit better than that. Like, that's how it feels. She is just no fun to play. I do not like this unit. That being said, if we go big picture, there are both a lot of cons and also, as we went over at the start of the video, a lot of pros. It's as simple as that. There are a lot of reasons, if I'm being completely transparent, that I think a lot of players should go for her. But also, if you're on the fence, or if you have other priorities, like you still want to summon on the Choose Your Own Hero banner with Van Helsing, or you want to go for the Nezha Numera banner, I'm not going to tell you you have to summon for her. I think it's insane people are telling other players that they have to go for her. Big picture, let me start giving you some definitive advice. Overall, gun to your head, all else equal, I do think most players should summon for her. I do believe that. That does not mean everyone should, and certainly no one should feel obligated to. But frankly, because she's so rare, because they like making these units feel good after the fact, and I think they're going to push a Northern meta, because she has some relevance already proven, granted in a very niche piece of content, and also, kind of a big deal to me, because she has this immobilize effect that I really could see being relevant in the future, I think she is worth going for if you have the means to do it, and you're willing to, wait on other stuff, maybe skip the Nezha banner for now, so on and so on, take this, and you're going to be playing the game for a while. You can see, though, I have not addressed the second and third points, and that's because I think they are the most important, I guess tied with how limited and how extremely rare she is. If you're a collector, you're going to want her in the collection. Personally, of course I'm going for her. Like, the biggest goal I have in the game is not getting my Spellbane Matrix score 2,000 fragments higher. No, my goal is to get every single unit in this game. That's how I play the game. I know a lot of people care more about PvP and leaderboards. Personally, and I think many other players, really just want to catch them all, and I'm not going to let a guaranteed opportunity to catch one of them slip me by. And then finally, I really like playing with Count Dracula. Remember when I said Mina's gameplay was clunk? I don't feel that way with Dracula. I actually really enjoy it. I like timing it out. I love the way his ult works. I think he's got really cool synergies, especially after they adjusted the way his soul rot works. I like Dracula. I think the bond skill she gives Dracula, particularly the expanded ultimate range, is going to be of value to me. I am going to use Dracula in PvP content. I do want her for that. So, there are a lot of pros. What are the cons and why would that inform what you do? If you're a brand new player and you're loving the game and you want to progress as fast as possible, sacrificing this quantity of summons right now is a major risk and it will slow down your progress. Now, if you know already you love the game, and this is a key point I want you guys to take away from this video if you made it this far, and if you're still progressing a lot through the game, if you're not very late game or certainly end game. If you know you love the game, and you think you could be playing this game in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and beyond, just go for her. Because yeah, it'd be cooler to get Nazon now, but maybe you get him in 3 months or 4 months or 8 months. It doesn't really matter. If you like the game, you'll progress, you'll eventually beat it all or come close to it if you stay on top of your daily grind, if you watch videos like mine, other content creators, if you hang out on the Discords, join my Discord, Fast and Fastidious, you're gonna get stuff done one way or another. So if you're in it for the long haul, go ahead and get the super rare unit, add her to the collection. However, if you're on the fence about this game, if you don't care about the long term, if you just want to make as much progress as possible, you might not be playing the game in 3 months or 6 months, how could I in good conscience tell you to pull for this absolute piece of trash just for your collection and potential she might be good in the future if you just want to make as much progress right now? You don't care about the future. So for players like that, I think you can feel good about skipping her. I'm not saying most players should. Gun to my head, I think most players should be going for her. That is the big takeaway from this video, now that we've broken down the pros and the cons. However, I have seen other people out there on Discord and YouTube and so on telling people they have to summon for Mina. That is absolute baloney. That is a farce. She is not good. If you don't want to forecast for the future, if you don't want to waste your summons right now by hitting on one of those other superstar units, by all means, do whatever you want to do. I hope I broke this down very clearly. The final point that has to be made is pity manipulation, and this has been driving me insane. I've seen multiple other people tell players she's just going to cost you 1 summon or 20 summons or 30 summons, and that is only true if your pity manipulation works out perfectly. For the vast majority of players, I have done more personal pity manipulation on more accounts than anyone else in the entire world. I have done it for more than 100 players. I have done like a dozen pity manipulation streams. Trust me on this. Maybe it's 80 players. I don't know. More than anyone else has. I am certain of that. More often than not, you do not have it line up perfectly. You don't come off a fresh pity, throw 180 at Mina, switch to Van Helsing, get Van Helsing in 20 pulls, come back and get Mina in 20 pulls. That is not how it works for the vast majority of players. Very often, on your way to building that pity, you're going to hit someone on the Mina banner that is not Mina. It's going to flub everything up. You're going to feel like you wasted 127 summons just to get a Regulus or an Azor or someone you don't want, and you're going to be disappointed. Could it work for you? Is it a risk worth taking for some people? Absolutely. But if you go into it expecting, because you heard someone online say that, oh, she's basically free, sometimes. A lot of the other times, you are going to knock your head around and you're going to get frustrated thinking you can get this to all work out perfectly. All right, this turned into a monster video, but you can see I had a lot to say on the subject, so I really hope you enjoyed it. If you made it to the end, please subscribe to the channel. If you have any follow-up questions, let me know in the comment section below. To conclude, what am I doing? I am going to pull for her. However, I am going to wait one more weekend because F this BS. I'm over it. I'm freaking over it, dude. Like, make a change, Moonton. Why does she have to suck? She does not need to be meta everywhere, but she is only good in one spot right now in certain comps at very high levels. I think she is a huge disappointment. Not every limited needs to be Sun Wukong or Diao Chan or Kagiri, but I think every limited should be a hero the player base can get excited about. No one in their right mind is excited about her. But there you go. I think most of you should pull. I think some of you, if you don't want to, absolutely should feel good about that. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel, share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.